There we go. Anatoly, thank you. I'd like to welcome our speakers and attendees to our presentation here. We have lost one of our presenters in energy fuel cells. And so the good news is we'll have some more time for the presentations and discussions. We are targeting 30 minutes in total. Speakers, if you could target 20 minutes of presentation, and we'll have 10 minutes for questions and maybe some time afterwards to ask some additional questions to our panel. I think we have a very interesting group of speakers, of experts in their field. So I'm really looking forward to the presentations. And Lubov, if I would like to invite you to start us off here and talk about ezVentures and getting funding for startups.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ken, for presenting, and thank you for the host for inviting me on. Let me share my screen and presentation. Do you see it in my screen?
Yes, I have it up.
Okay, good. So yeah, my name is Lyubov, and I'm a founder of a tech startup called ezVenture. And we are building an online platform to help early stage startups to get funded, to educate founders and to help them to maximize their chances in their communications with venture capitalists and other investors. We see our goal in democratizing the venture fundraising process, which is a really big challenge today, as the statistics are appalling. Only about 2% of companies that seek funding end up receiving it. And as you can see in the chart, the proportion of startups who fail to raise even the next rounds of funding is huge. It's about 80% for the Series A round. And the situation with the first rounds of funding is incomparably worse. Venture firms finance only about 1 or 2 ventures out of 100 business plans they see. They reject the other 98, 99% because they did not display the potential, or they did not display the proof of potential. All VCs complain that the pitch decks they receive are poorly structured, and quite often it's even impossible to catch the idea behind the startup's communication. The lack of warm introduction is one of the other reasons to reject the pitch deck. The most successful, the most famous VCs are even more picky here. For example, each year, 3,000 startups approach Andreessen Horowitz with a warm intro from someone the firm knows. And Andreessen Horowitz invests in only 15 of those 3,000 startups, which means they say yes to 1 in every 200 pitches and no to the other 199. A typical VC conversion funnel follows a similar pattern. At the entry point, investors consider referrals, outbound and inbound channels to generate deal flow. And most of the applications will consist of cold emails, but cold emails are usually perceived as noise by investors. And the reason, one of the main reasons, as I've just mentioned, is the poor structured content of the startup decks and emails. The other reason is that the communication is sent to the wrong address. For example, this particular investor doesn't invest into this industry or doesn't invest in the area of the startup. Unfortunately, first-time founders are not aware of nuances in how to find the right investors, how to approach them, and how to prepare the application. As a result, almost none of the cold outreaches receive any funding. But it can't be true. It's not possible to imagine that all of the projects communicated without warm introduction are that bad, that are not worth funding. Here, I put a Beata client with screenshot here. She's an associate at Grindem, VC advisory firm from Stockholm, Sweden. She calls herself a cold mailing advocate. So here in her tweet, she provided a list of VCs who are okay with cold emails, and people keep adding themselves to the list. But unfortunately, the list is not long, and VCs still prefer to deal with warm introduction. To address the problem, we support startups founders at the first steps of their fundraising path. First, we provide a searchable database with thousands of different types of investors. We provide a guide for first-time founders to identify the right investors in just 5 steps. We are currently developing smart tools to structure the content of the initial communication with investors, draft powerful emails, and create winning pitch decks and one-pagers. We studied and synthesized best practices to make startup communication stand out in front of investors. As the next step, we are planning to provide startup analytics and smart search based on specific VCs criteria, as well as the opportunity for startups to submit their investment application through our platform. We have received preliminary interest from investors and are validating the idea. So this is how it works. Sorry. Startups follow our guide to use our database to filter and select relevant investors. The database is carefully curated and continuously growing. At the moment, the users can filter the information by investors' location, type of investor, and investors' focus area. We are currently working on adding additional filters like stages of startup development, investment geography, and some other filters. Once the investors are selected, startups can use our smart tools, and with assistance and numerous tips from our web bot, they fill in the step-by-step form to structure an investor pitch deck, or email draft, or one-pager. Once the form is filled, the communication to the investor is ready at the click of a button. And now I want to show you our very short explainer video in just 1 minute.
Raising funds for your startup is always a challenge. First, you have to find investors that suit your business. Then, you have to present your idea to investors in a compelling way. Investors receive hundreds of funding applications daily. So how do you cut through the noise to ensure they notice you? ezVenture's smart tools make your fundraising journey easy. Filter and select relevant investors from a free searchable database with thousands of VCs, angel investors, accelerators, or private equity firms. At the click of a button, create powerful email messages and pitch decks ready to be sent to investors with the ezVenture online platforms. Got stuck in a rut? Discuss any startup funding topics with other founders like you on the ezVenture forum. Maximize your chances to get funded now. ezVenture, venture funding made easy.
So we've launched in May this year, and now we have active users from 73 countries to be exact, across 5 continents. As you can see in the map, we didn't cover some countries like Greenland or Mongolia, some African countries yet. Before the launch, we conducted the analysis of Google keyword search, Quora, Facebook, on Twitter trends. We made ethnographic research, A/B testing, and made sure that there is a high demand for the product of the kind. Also, the conversion rate from our website visitors to signups shows the high interest in the product. Unlike most players, we clearly structure, navigate, and automate the process of venture fundraising for startups, excluding excessive and sophisticated information. We work as a one-stop shop. Currently, in order to select relevant investors and approach them with suitable pitch decks, startups have to do research or use multiple consultants platforms and ultimately spend more time, more money, or even both. We are more focused and application specific than such giants as Crunchbase or AngelList or Golden. And as a result, we provide customers with nothing but the pure and simple tools and data required to their first steps in fundraising. We believe simplicity and focus are our competitive advantages. As for the productivity tools for pitch decks, in contrast to our competitors, we believe it's not enough to just structure the documents. It's important to provide founders with clear guidance, tips, explanation, examples of what resonates most with investors. Our team is a mix of knowledge and international experience. We are good at digital marketing, product and business development, negotiating, structuring international business transactions, many other fields. We have experience in running tech startups and raising capital. And we have experience in funding tech startups and startup acceleration. We used to live and work in the US, Europe, and Asia. I'm currently based in Moscow, and my partner Victoria is in Singapore. We are looking to collaborate and consider affiliate programs with companies that provide startups with various services. And also we call for cooperation technology transfer centers, startup accelerators, incubators, as well as investment firms. We also invite you to join our customer advisory board to try our beta and to co-build the product with us. And if you are interested, reach out to us on LinkedIn or send us an email. And thank you very much for listening.
Well, thank you for the very interesting presentation. I loved your video. I thought it was very good. And I was just wondering, you talked about connections to venture firms. Do you also have connections, for example, to industry venture funds or currently, or is that something that you're looking at in the future?
You know what, first of all, we see startups as our target audience. So first, we are building a product for startups because we see them as the weakest side on this startup investor relationship. So we want to help them, especially the startups who are not located in Silicon Valley or the other hubs, big hubs of startups, right? So if you're in Silicon Valley, you can meet your investor easily. And there is meetups or other events, or even meet the investor. I mean, in a next corner shop, I don't know, coffee shop in Starbucks. But if you're not there, it's a really big challenge. And we want to increase chances of these startups to get funded, because we believe that the great ideas deserve to be funded, no matter where the founder is located, in any remote places on the globe. Today it's a big problem, and working with investors is our next step in our project. When we show that that the communication that startups prepare with us, with our platform, is really well structured. It makes the seeds or other investors' life easier, because they spend less time to understand the pitch, to see, when it's well structured, and you spend less time on reading it, on understanding if the project is good or bad, if it suits to you or not. So in this case, the seeds are interested in working with us. So first, we are building the product for startups on the stage, and we will see how it goes down.
Super, thank you. I'd like to invite other questions from the attendees.
If I can. The question is, well, my own experience with this conference, that, for example, you have to adjust sometimes your strategy on the flight. in case the environment changed from your initial idea and thought and plans. So I kind of like maybe penetrating question. So in a sense, what was your initial strategy or thought and how you needed to correct it based on your experience, if you don't mind to share that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you. Pivots are normal situation for startups, and we are the same actually. When we started our project, we didn't actually expect how poor is founders' knowledge about the fundraising for startups. We didn't expect that it's that poor. I'm speaking now about the first-time founders, of course. If you have previous experience in fundraising, it's a different situation, you know much more. But for first-time founders, we communicate a lot with our users around the world, and we get their questions, and we understand that sometimes they almost don't know anything about the ecosystem, the C world, and they definitely need to be educated and to increase their chances, to help them to to spend less time and less effort on fundraising. So for this reason, we just developed additional tools, like educational tools for them. We provide more material for, for example, I mentioned in my presentation our guide, how to understand who is the right investor for you in just 5 steps. So we just describe very, very clearly and, in a plain language, how to understand where are you, what is the stage, what is the, I don't know, which fundraising, which investor you need to approach, what, because they couldn't even use our database because they didn't know which investor to pick. I don't know, should it be angel, should it be a private equity firm? They didn't see any difference. So we needed them to explain them how it works, what is the, some first steps, how to find themselves there in the field.
Bob, I have a follow-up question on Anatoly's here. That is, when do you let the entrepreneurs start sending out the emails to the investors? I mean, you mentioned initially they come in, they need some education. At what point do you give them access to the investor database and let them start to communicate, to engage with the potential investors?
Well, it works like that with our platform. So they come, they read our guide, they understand what kind of investors they need. They select from, then they go to our database, then they select the right investors for themselves because they know already which stage, which type of investors, which location. So they just apply the filters and make a short list of the investors that suits to them, to their business. And then we help them to structure their communication. So we help them to structure their email, we help them to structure their pitch deck, and any other required documents for the first communication. And then they can use those documents prepared with our platform to send it to the investors they picked.
Okay. So you make sure that before they start communicating that they have enough knowledge to do it in a professional manner, and that I understand that. One quick other question. I was just wondering about your business model, ezVenture's business model. So is there a fee for the entrepreneurs to use it, or do the investors, if they invest, is there some kind of fee structure there?
Well, it's a kind of SaaS business model. It's a subscription for startups, for founders. Some of the products are free for our users, like our database. It's free. You can use it whenever you want. And the subscription model is for our smart tools. So for our software usage, actually.
Okay.
So you
And-
can subscribe for, I don't know, 1 month or 3 months usage. Yeah, and use it.
I see. Thank you. Other questions?
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Luba, I'd like to ask you, are you in contact with the National Association of Business Angels in Russia? There is a structure there. There's also another association of alternative investment managers that deal in not only VC, but many different areas of finance. I like your idea. I like what you're trying to do to connect these different, startups to help them find the right investor. But you also really need to be connected into some of these other communities. Are you already connected in with them? And if not, I can help you. I was a founder of the National Association of Business Angels of Russia.
It's a great, actually, Kendrick, what you're saying. Of course, we need to be connected to as many, this kind of organization as possible. Not yet, actually, with this particular organization that you mentioned, not yet. I communicate with a lot of VCs and business angels, but not with this particular ones. So if you can introduce us, it would be perfect. Thank you.
I think you need to think about a strategy for connecting with angels and a different strategy with VCs, because VCs are going to be more passive. They can invest over some longer distance. They might be a fund in Moscow investing in Tomsk. Angels need to be within 30 kilometers of their project, and you might help to create that screening process. I'd be happy to communicate with you after this by email. So I have a lot of connections in this, and I'd be glad to help you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Well, that was exactly the purpose of our meetings, to help people to connect to each other.
Right.
And we have another question in the chat. So from Nadia, could you please give an example of successful funding?
Well, you mean examples of our customers? The thing is that we just launched, so we didn't collect any information from our users yet. And the main product which we are going to introduce is still under development. I mean, the smart tools, which is our main product, we are going to launch it in a couple of months, I hope. So we will have more data then.
Understood. Other questions?
If nobody else, again, I would kind of have more question to Luba, because I'm kind of, she knows I have a little bit interest on this, because I also have my own platform, which is somewhat broader than this one. So, and I failed in a marketing part, and I just kind of rethinking the marketing strategy. So it seemed that Luba was quite successful with the marketing strategy. And if it's not too penetrating question, so if you could share some of your experience with marketing with startups, and also maybe a little bit summarizing your strategy, how you are going to reach the investors, if you would, because it's quite a penetrating question. Otherwise, you say, no, I'm not going to share that.
Well, sure. No, I can share some our experience. We didn't spend money for any advertising yet. So the marketing which we were doing, everything, which is free, So we used Product Hunt. We launched on Product Hunt. It was a really good tool for us because it brought to us many startups, many users. We just doubled our visitors with Product Hunt. I'm trying to write some articles in VC business startup magazines or online magazines. Also, we use a lot of Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Twitter. So we use those networks, social networks, for to communicate our messages to startups, and startup meetups, kind of that. So it's as usual.
What about investors? What's your plans for them?
Well, investors, it's more complicated thing. So we want to go to approach investors when we will have successful cases to show them how our startups, when we will have a lot of startups using our platform, and they can show them that it's a useful tool for startups. and show them how startups, you know, change their communication with investors, how better it became. And in this case, we can approach investors and, you know, show them some value of our platform. So it's going to be, I guess, this kind of an organization like Kendrick just mentioned in his previous question, or just one by one, you know, approaching investors one by one. So that's how we are planning to you know.
So you probably already noticed that we have investor sessions on October 12th yeah, it's October 13. Yeah, if I'm right. Yeah, October 13. So don't miss yourself to become known to them,
Right.
and also to, you know, kind of, you know, use this as an opportunity to indirectly market yourself on this session, because that's probably will be quite popular, I hope, but also if it changes to an expert channel, I wouldn't mind. So, but that's also might be a chance to advertise yourself there.
Right. I just wanted to mention that it's a quite weird situation that the technologies funded by the Cs are getting more and more sophisticated. They're equally changing our world, right? And the Cs world today didn't change much, actually. It's almost the same as it was, like, I don't know, 50 years ago. The way how the C look for and consider projects is still the same. So we want to bring a little bit of innovation in the field here. And actually the main thing that we want to achieve is to make the Cs and other investors funnel more diverse and more inclusive.
And do you know the answer why the investors don't change the rules?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows the answer.
I do have an answer.
Okay, but
it's very simple. The answer is very simple. They have the money and they dictate the rule. If the rules works for them, why they have to change them?
That's also true. Yeah, but they feel, you know, they feel uncomfortable because it would be, you know, they would work more efficient if they would spend less time to find the best projects, right? They still have to spend a lot of time, like, reading all the pitch decks and, you know, listening to pitches. If it would be somehow automated, it would be easier for them as well, right?
Did you watch the Zaitsev video already?
No.
Okay,
No.
just go ahead and you'll get quite a bit. Basically, the most of them don't even look in any database.
That's true. Yeah.
They don't need to.
That's true. That's why our customers are also maybe the main reason, actually, that that's why our customers startups, not VCs, not investors, because they are not so much interested in anything than anybody. They, you know, they are okay. But startups are really, you know, have a lot of problems with that.
All right, I think that that's about 30 minutes unless there's any other questions for Lubov.